Now, there's a few things I wish I knew when I started lifting, right? Things like if you go into a 24-hour locker room, you're probably gonna see a bunch of naked old Asian men. Or what happens when you leave your shaker bottle overnight and you dump it out and wash it. These are the things you need to know, and that's what I'm here to teach you today. The top 5 things I wish I knew when I started lifting. Now, the first tip is to not let others influence your training too much, right? And I find that this is a thing that's really common with people that are just starting lifting, right? You get into the gym, your friends are lifting super heavy, they were football players or whatever, they've been doing it for a little bit longer, you want to try to match the weight, and 1, you're putting yourself at risk of injury, and 2, you're limiting your range of motion because you're not doing the movement properly. So I see this tons, all right? Be patient with it as you get into the gym, knowing that you need to learn your mind-muscle connection, learn your body, and just really, really focus on the fundamentals before moving forward into the heavier weight. Kind of going into that a little bit more, you don't necessarily need to be doing everything you see your favorite bodybuilders doing, right? A lot of them kind of fluff up all their programs because they want to sell you something or they want to be different and kind of stand out on social media, but a lot of that you don't need, right? There's key set principles or fundamentals that you need when you start lifting, and not all these crazy like bodybuilding plans or diet plans. It's just something to kind of keep in mind.
I feel like a new man. I got a new game plan. Working hard as I can. Oh, I'ma stack them bands.
And this will be 245, 50 grams fat, and not your trailer.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
You're looking really good.
That was Alex Toplin, IFBB Pro Olympian, and this is where we start to push. All right, tip number 2 is building muscle and losing fat is not as hard as people make it. I feel like people kind of do this up in their head, and it's really hard, especially on social media when there's all these fad diets and training diets, and there's so much information coming at us constantly that we get kind of overwhelmed, right? So when it comes to training, right, it's doing it consistently over a long period of time. It's making sure that you're progressively overloading and making sure that you're training smart, and if you do those things for a long enough period of time, it's gonna be the most effective one, and you're gonna get to your goals a lot quicker. All right, and then when it comes to dieting, right, I think people overfluff this a lot. It's been the same science forever. It comes down to calories in versus calories out. How much you inputting, how much you outputting. And I think people just really fluff it up with, you need to do this specific diet, you need to diet down keto, you need to do the smoothie diet, all this shit. It's just ridiculous for them to make money and sell you on some shit. But ultimately, it just really comes down to a couple principles as well. Making sure you're getting enough protein in, right? Making sure, depending on your goals, whether you're in a surplus or a deficit, and then also just keeping track of those calories overall. And you know, if you do those over a long period of time, just like the training, you're gonna get to where you need to go and where you want to go.
I feel like my own genie. You would think I got Middle Eastern blood by the way the girls call me a BB. 30 racks just popped up in my email. Damn, what a life. I just did arenas, then I had a threesome, then I counted 40 bands.
Now, tip number 3, right? And it's gonna sound so simple and so easy. It's to not be in a rush, to be patient. And I got into lifting and bodybuilding and all this stuff. I was so young, but I was so inspired by all the bodybuilders and the men's physique people and all the people that I saw on YouTube. I wanted to throw myself into the fire, right? I wanted to jump into physique competitions, and I did it right when I was 17. But the thing is, I didn't adequately give myself enough time to be able to mature muscularly, right? To develop and to really just put on size. And that's one of the biggest issues that I started off with. If I would have just taken that time, slowed down, focused on building quality muscle, I would have been at such a better place now than I was then. But I went through a bunch of cuts, a bunch of deficits, right at that like prime time, right? And another thing to keep in mind is putting on muscle takes a lot of time. I've been training for 10 years now and I look like a 15-year-old girl. So it's something that just takes a while and something that you have to keep in mind. To see a quality difference, you're gonna be training from 6 months to a year. So just really be patient and enjoy the process of getting there, right? Because that's something that so much people are in a rush to get to that goal, to get to that end spot, but it's constantly a journey, it's constant improvement, and that's just something you have to keep in mind is being patient. Tip number 4, and this is something that I regret not doing earlier on, it's taking before and after pictures and then also tracking your progress along the way. This is something I really wish I could reflect on and have a bunch of pictures and videos of when I started lifting. And although I do have a few, I would love to have more to be able to reference and use in videos and all this stuff. So make sure you're taking enough videos, make sure you're taking enough photos, because at the end of the day, that's what the story is about, right? It's about where you came from and the journey to getting where you are at today. And I think that's kind of the coolest part, to be able to reflect and see that. And along with that is like tracking what you guys are doing in and out of the gym, right? Tracking the progression with the weights that you're lifting or the movements that you're doing. That's so important to see, you know, the accumulation all the way throughout your fitness journey of what you've been able to do or haven't been able to do, and be able to see that and written down or like on your notes or somewhere. It doesn't have to be every single day, it doesn't have to be every single lift, but just something you can track over that long period of time. and final tip is that you don't need steroids to build an impressive physique. I know this gets really clouded with people on social media, right? The trend twins and the trend bros and all this stuff shoving it down your throat, especially people that are new lifters and they don't know, they don't understand. I feel like we're giving them a misconception about what you actually need to build an impressive physique, right? Lifting over a long period of time, right? And then that muscle maturity. Everyone can build an impressive physique, but it just depends on how fast you can do it. Someone on PEDs can do it a lot faster than someone that is natural, right? Like myself. You know, I've taken a lot of time to be able to build the one that I currently have. So that's something that I learned from my coach, Alex Toplin. And then you also have to think of the health effects, right? There's a lot of negative health effects with the mental and the physical and all these things that you have to take into consideration. That's no knock to people that are on them. I think it's fucking amazing and they have such strong will to be able to do that. But I think there's a certain specific place in order to, you know, have to do those things, whether you want to be an IFBB pro or you want to be an Olympian. Like in that case, you really don't have a choice to be able to compete at that high of a level. But if you just want to have a good physique and you want to be on social media and those sort of things, you really don't need them, I promise you. So just kind of keep that in mind. Keep all these tips in mind. If you have questions about anything, drop them in the comments. I'm more than happy to help you out. I appreciate you guys watching. I love you. Subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.